Was there really a point of stealing the Dragon Sword? No. Hey everyone, and welcome to another Range Rant. I'm Archer9234. Today I'll be discussing episode 50 from the first season of Power Rangers titled Return of an Old Friend Part 2. Now this episode is not adapted from any episode of Zyuranger prior. All it is using is basically stock footage of existing episodes and the Zyu2 footage. Now the Dremel monster doesn't actually exist in the original Zyuranger series episodes at all. This is all American made footage. The episode resumes right where we left off, where we see that Jason is pondering, well, what could we do with the green dragon coin? And Zordon is basically saying, we need to get Tommy here right now. Zordon orders Alpha 5 to teleport Tommy directly from the Zyu Center to the command center. And we see that Alpha teleports Tommy from the Zyu Center right to the command center just in time, because the Dremel monster was still inside the juice bar, could have easily has taken control of his mind. Now, of course, Rita's watching and she sees that Tommy was teleported to the command center, and of course, everyone's confused, like, well, why did that happen? And everyone's like, there's no way that they can restore the Green Ranger powers. And we finally head back to the command center, and we said Tommy finally arrives safe and sound. Now, here's my big complaint with this. Why didn't they actually do this in the beginning? Now, at no point in time did they ever forcibly teleport Billy out of the Dark Dimension, because again, in part 1, we saw that the Power Rangers teleported into the Dark Dimension, so the teleportation stuff was not blocked. So they could have teleported Billy out of the Dark Dimension while the Rangers were fighting the putties. Now, of course, Tommy's basically confused, like, well, how come I'm back at the command center? I don't have my powers. And Jason basically says, welcome back, and hands him the Green Ranger coin. And we head back to seeing Goldar abusing the Dragon Dagger and summoning the Dragon Zord and basically attacking the city. When we return to the command center, we basically hear Zordon give an idea of what they can do in order to restore Tommy's powers. Now, basically, Zordon says, I'll infuse him with my own life energy, meaning his power, that Zordon's own life force that's being used to keep him alive. How come he didn't suggest this at any point in time in previous episodes? There were many episodes where they actually needed the Green Ranger powers at any point in time. Specifically, Doomsday, when the world was ending, the Rangers were overpowered, the Zords were temporarily gone, but he never suggested this at any point in time, which kind of annoyed me because Tommy could have been really useful in the Doomsday episodes. Obviously, this power transfer does have its drawbacks. Again, it's taxing Zordon, it's using up his life energy. Of course, it's a great risk on Tommy's body because, again, I assume how the powers work is basically once you're in the suit, you're kind of connected to the suit. So if you have a fluctuation of power, it physically injures you, even just like how an energy blast or a weapon hit would hurt the Rangers as well. So while Tommy and Zordon agree on the risks, we see that finally Zordon is sending out a huge amount of energy into Tommy's power coin. Billy and Alpha are keeping track of the powers. And we see that already, by not doing anything, we see that it's already taxing Zordon. But luckily enough, it does work, and we see that Tommy's finally restored his Green Ranger powers and immediately teleports out of the command center and heads to Goldar's location. Now, I do like to nitpick at this moment. If you look really closely in the scene where Tommy's inside the command center, his suit is actually incorrect. You'll notice that he's using the Silver Power Morpher toy and is having the Blade Blaster, which doesn't really make any sense. He should really have an empty Dragon Dagger holster. So when Tommy finally teleports to Goldar's location, of course Goldar is shocked that the Green Ranger returned. He's kind of confused, but of course he has his duty to protecting the power coins. And of course, a Baboon and Squad are in the background gloating and watching while Tommy engages into the fight with the putties and Goldar. Now, there's a lot of things wrong with this scene. First and foremost, wasn't the Dragon Dagger formed into the box of the power coins? But now in this episode, Goldar is holding the Dragon Dagger separately from the power coins. There was really no point of doing this in part 1 then. Another thing is that, how come the power coins are still on Earth? Goldar at any point in time could have returned the power coins to Rita, and Rita could have destroyed the coins, absorbed the coins, something, and totally ended this whole fiasco. While Tommy engages Goldar on the putties, we see that it's taxing on Zordon's life energy, and we see that he's fading, and of course everyone's worried about Zordon and Tommy's powers failing at the wrong time. But since the Rangers have actually no choice whatsoever in the matter, they have to simply boost the power to Tommy in order to keep him in the fight and risk Zordon disappearing again. We see that Tommy is finally back into the fight and attempts to actually grab the power coin box from the pedestal. Unfortunately, though, it's actually protected by an energy field, and it actually knocks Tommy to the ground. But luckily enough, he didn't have enough force to actually grab the Dragon Dagger, and finally has retaken control of the Dragon Zord. Now, here's my other big gripe with this scene. What was the point of taking the Dragon Zord at all? at no point in time does Goldar actually use the Dragon Zord against Tommy. So what was the point of stealing it? I mean, he destroyed a couple of buildings and killed a few people, yes, but other than that, there was no point. They could have simply done the entire episode without dealing with the Dragon Zord and just simply Tommy fighting Goldar. Once Tommy has control of the Dragon Zord, of course Rita gets pissed off because everyone is screwed up again. Rita orders Scorpina down to the ground in order to, combat the Dragon Zord, which is perfectly fine. The problem is when Scorpina arrives in the scene, all of a sudden we see Goldar with her. The main reason is because Goldar is supposed to be guarding the power coins. So why is he actually helping fight the Dragon Zord? Scorpina could basically take on the Dragon Zord and buy them extra time while Tommy is fighting Goldar. This is the perfect example why you don't use restock footage, because it causes continuity and plot issues throughout the episode. The reason why this happened was because, again, they're using existing stock footage from older episodes that had Scorpina and Goldar fighting the Dragon Zord. Another thing I have to complain about, yes, the putties are guarding the power coin box, but at no point in time does Tommy attempt to take the power coin box at all. He's simply, summoning and controlling the Dragon Zord. After a little while, during the Dragon Zord fight, Goldar realizes the power coin box is unprotected and he has to return to the fight. Which even makes it worse that they're actually pointing it out in the episode that it was stupid that Goldar to attack the Dragon Zord instead of, protecting the power coin box. Fortunately enough for this blunder, at the last minute, just before Tommy's powers fail and Zordon's life energy gives out, he grabs the power coin box and is successfully teleported back to the command center, and the Rangers finally regain all their power coins. Now, once the Rangers have all their power coins, they have a big issue that Tommy has lost his powers again, and of course Zordon is missing from his energy tube because most of his life energy has been depleted. So of course Billy and the other Rangers suggest, well, if Zordon could infuse his energy into Tommy to restore his powers, why can't we do that with their power coins? So they summon all the energy from their power coins grouped together in order to return Zordon's energy back to him, restoring him into the command center, which is actually a good idea. Now the problem is that they successfully return Zordon using the power of the power coins, but at no point in time do the Rangers suggest, well, we should do it on Tommy's body, because again, he's a Ranger. Shouldn't you be able to actually cross-connect your power coins to each other in order to boost each other? Because you did it with Zordon, so why can't you do it with Tommy? Now we head back to Rita's lair, and of course everyone's apologizing to Rita because they totally screwed up, really screwed up. And of course she has every right to be mad because they did so many different mistakes. Now while Tommy is passed out and completely depleted of his Green Ranger powers, of course the other 5 Rangers head to the Dremel Monster's location. Now when the Rangers finally arrive and begin fighting the Dremel Monster, this is all Ju-2 footage. Now all of this is original Japanese footage filmed specifically for MMPR. Now while the Rangers are fighting the Dremel Monster, we see that the Dremel Monster sends out his gas again and unfortunately gets 4 out of the 5 Rangers. So while the 4 Rangers are under their control, when all of a sudden we see that Tommy starts floating up and we see this energy aura around him. We basically found out that when Tommy intersected the force field that was protecting the power coins, the excess energy from the force field supercharged the Green Ranger power coin and it actually restored his powers. Tommy's powers are basically restored, also restoring his, stamina and energy. And of course, he teleports out of the command center and joins the fight with the Rangers. Now, the weird thing though, in the Ju-2 footage, we see an aura from the corner come out and actually attack the Dremel Monster. Again, Saban probably basically said, Toy, film us Zord footage, film us some Power Ranger footage, and they loosely give them the plot of the episode, but they don't actually give them specific details. So again, certain things don't really make any sense. Once the Dremel Monster's powers were finally lifted from the Rangers, of course, now Rita Repulsa brings down her wand and makes the Dremel Monster grow. And we finally get introduced to the Ju-2 footage of the Zord summoning sequence. Now, in the new version of the Zord summoning footage, basically we see that the Dragon Zord is being awakened from the forest area rather being from the underground water area. And another change is also how the Tyrannosaurus awakens out. We get a front view of the Tyrannosaurus rising from the molten lava, while the Triceratops, Saber-tooth tiger, and the Mastodon reuse the same existing stock footage, but we also get a new sequence of the pterodactyl flying overhead of the camera. Now, during the Zord fight between the Dremel Monster and the Megazord and Dragon Zord, this is a splice between stock footage from earlier episodes, meaning all the Zord cockpit footage is stock footage. No new additional cockpit footage was ever shot for Ju-2, but all the exterior Zord footage with the Dragon Zord and the Megazord fighting the Dremel Monster, that's all specifically Ju-2 footage. This is what also causes the continuity issues between using the stock footage and the Zord fight. While the Rangers are fighting the Dremel Monster knocks down the Megazord, and they need some time in order to reboot power. Another issue is when they were using stock footage of the Dragon Zord battle mode footage. Top part of the Megazord cockpit is black. That's always the Dragonzord Battle Mode cockpit head. So while the Megazord's on the floor rebooting their power, we see that, of course, Tommy takes full control of the Dragonzord and buys him enough time and attacks the Dremel monster, while the Megazord finally summons the Ultrazord formation. Now, there was a big mistake in this scene. Now, everyone knows that in order to form the Ultrazord, you have to form the Mega Dragonzord first, then summon Titanus. Now, there was a mistake where they actually used the Dragonzord Battle Mode rather than the Mega Dragonzord footage. Now, there was actually a bit of different editing during this sequence. Just like before, I said that Saban only gave him a loose outline in order what to film for the Ju2 footage. And in the completed episode, you'll see that we used the Ultrazord finisher in order to defeat the Dremel monster. But if you look back in the Ju2 footage, they're actually using the special effects that were used for the Megazord sword finisher move. So after the Megazord fight and we return to the command center, everyone's totally happy that, of course, Zordon and Alpha freed their parents. And fortunately enough, they actually don't remember what happened. They don't remember they were in the dark dimension. And of course, everyone's grateful that Tommy is now back. But of course, Zordon reminds Tommy that your powers are temporary. They can fail at any point in time. But of course, since Tommy is a hero, he's always going to take that risk to help his friends. So we finally head back to the juice bar, and everyone is finally, greeting their parents. Everyone's all happy that their parents are back. Now, the thing that kind of confused me about is that since this was a Parents' Day, where were Tommy's parents? But when Kimberly asked Tommy to come over, he was just wandering around doing nothing. So obviously Tommy's parents were not there. I'm always confused why that happened. So of course, just at the last minute, we can have an episode without Bulk and Skull throw a pie at, ironically, Jason's father, which, it's kind of risky. I mean, he's the bodybuilder. He could have just, attacked him. A food fight broke out. All the parents had gone crazy. And of course, the Rangers get out of there, avoiding all the food and getting all messed up. Overall, I have to give the episode a 3 out of 5. It was a decent episode, but it had a lot of plot problems. What was the point of stealing the Dragonzord if you were not going to protect the power coins? It was really stupid that Goldar went after the Dragonzord and Tommy is not taking the power coins. Another thing that really bugged me is that, Zordon at the last minute suggested, well, I can use my energy source in order to power the Dragon coins, when this could have been brought up on many occasions where they really needed Tommy. Doomsday is the most important area because that was nearly the end of the world. And now my major complaint of the episode is the lack of, parents' personalities and stuff. Again, the parents are just there as plot devices. They have no real personality except, the stereotypical stuff. Even Trini's parents don't even get to talk. At least we heard Jason and Billy and Zach's parents at least talk. What do you guys personally think? Do you think this episode was really good? Because again, they brought back the Green Ranger, which everyone has been hounding them for a long time. Bring back the Green Ranger. We finally got him back, albeit temporarily. Or do you think the episode lacks because of the stupidness between Goldar going away from the power coins, Tommy not getting the power coins, the Dragonzord being basically pointless? What do you guys personally think? Of course, leave your comments below on what you think on this episode. And of course, leave your suggestion below on what future episodes you would like me to review. For next week's rant, I'll be discussing Super Samurai from the second season of Power Rangers Samurai. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys right back here next week.